Hi, I'm Danny Elliott, and this is First Time for Everything, a podcast where I talk with really interesting people from all walks of life about their first time doing something. These people started out just like you and me, interested in something and wanting to try it. Maybe they were a little bit scared, but something in them made them take that leap towards their dream. I really hope these conversations inspire you to step out of your comfort zone and go after whatever it is you've been wanting to do. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be talking about your first time.
Got a case of I can't wait, so I guess I gotta go and make my own way. Getting closer, getting closer.
Hello, first timers. Today we're talking with Reiki Master Ana Tipton. Ana and I met back in college and we were both jazz vocal majors, and to discover she's become a Reiki master came as absolutely no surprise to me. Her energy has always been so light and peaceful, and it's always felt like this is not her first time here on earth like it is for a lot of us. Ana reached out to me early last year saying she felt led to give me a Reiki session if I was open to it after I had first shared about my miscarriages on Instagram. Since then, I have found such profound healing and affirmation through the Reiki process, and I just want as many people as possible to know about this modality so that they can hopefully have the kind of beautiful experiences I've been able to have. Today, we're going to talk through what Reiki is, how it's affected Ana in my life, and how it can become a magical part of the process in coming to know yourself more deeply. This is First Time Having Reiki with Ana Tipton.
Getting closer, getting closer, getting closer.
All right. I'm so excited to have you here. Everybody, we have Ana Tipton today, and
Hello.
you're going to love her energy, her wonderfulness. We're college girlfriends who've recently reconnected.
Thank you so
And
much.
yeah, I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for
Oh my
doing this.
gosh. Thank you for asking me. I'm so honored and yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so
My
excited.
pleasure. Well, how about can you just like tell everybody about yourself and your background,
Yeah.
and maybe we could like get into then how you got into Reiki or
Oh,
first heard
for
about
sure.
it.
So, my background is music. So, we went to school together. So, I'm a vocalist and a pianist. So, that's been my entire like life and we went to school for it and that's been my thing for like forever. And then I've always been the type of person that's, like they're closer to the sky than they are to the ground, kind of
Mhm.
like in my head. And I was very like kind of like attuned, like always. And all of a sudden, 4 years ago, I kind of had an issue where, like, I was seeing like a really good therapist, like a holistic therapist. And she suggested Reiki to me because I was like going through one issue that was kind of intense. And I was like, all right, this sounds like really cool. I'll try like literally anything.
Yeah.
I was doing like, all sorts of different like modalities of healing. And so I tried it and it was like just absolutely like life altering. So crazy that I just like really felt like a soul calling, like a soul contract being like written.
Hmm.
Just like kind of getting introduced into that world. Like after my first session, I was already signed up to be, get my first certification.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, it was really amazing. Yes, I've gotten my second certification and I've gotten a certification in maternal fertility Reiki, newborn Reiki, and I'm going to be starting my mastery of Reiki in the next month. So it's really awesome. I mean, it swept me off my feet.
Yeah, I didn't realize that that connection happened so quickly for you that because I was going to ask kind of like when you knew that this was like a calling, that it was something that like you were wanted
Yeah,
to start doing yourself. And I didn't realize it was like after that first session, you're like, sign me up.
yeah, like it was so insane. I went because I had a problem, and I'd never felt like so compelled to seek help for myself. It was like an outside force,
Yeah.
kind of a problem. So I like went, and the person who is still my practitioner, who I still go to,
Mhm.
and is my teacher, we shared intent. I talked to her about like what I wanted out of this, and like what brought me in, and like what needs I felt I had, and what my goals were. We had such an amazing session that I felt like I couldn't even drive afterwards. Like
Mm.
I was like really blissed out, but like shaky, feeling really like raw, like really like tender, like oh, like
Yeah.
crazy. I remember sitting in my car and being like, "What?" Like, like wow. And later that night, I always suggest, as she does, to do like an Epsom salt bath
Mhm.
for like a detox and kind of get rid of everything that we wanted to get rid of that day. So I had that. I'm like, okay, let's take a bath. Like, okay, this is gonna be nice. But I didn't really like take it that seriously.
Mm.
I took the bath. Like I've said to you, Reiki
Yeah.
unfolds. Like the experience continues. So like I took the bath, and like after I took the bath, it was like I had this like huge like purge of negative energy just like leaving my body.
Wow.
I was like, holy shit. The whole everybody in the house like knew what was happening to me. I was like, whoa. Like it was like an event, and it just continued to like unfold. It was like experiencing, and this is my goal when I give Reiki, is like to get someone into alignment, so I was like feeling that alignment for the first time in a long time, and it was like giving me a sense of what I should be,
Mm.
after that Reiki session.
Yeah.
And I'm like, ooh, I have to like chase that feeling, of being like present and like super aware and like
Here.
aligned and here and
Yeah.
present and clear and like like a real channel. So it blew my mind. So I was like immediately did a really intensive experience for my certification. Even that was amazing. I mean, that like just still blows my mind. We had like partners over the weekend,
Mhm.
like to practice with and to
Yeah.
reverse roles and stuff. And I had a pregnant woman. We're still like really close friends.
Mhm.
She's amazing. Um,
Well, I'm
and
sure it's like attracts like, right? Like I'm
yeah,
sure that like it's similar
energy.
energy
Yes.
type of people are drawn to
Yeah.
this kind of practice, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I mean, I could you describe what Reiki is? I don't even know how to describe it to people because I tell everybody about you.
You
And
are so great.
oh my gosh, you girl. No, I mean, like, it's just been such a game changer for me. And Matt
Yeah.
actually said after our session the other day, he was like,
Yeah.
I really feel like this has been more beneficial for you than therapy.
Oh
And
God, I'm
I
so
I would
honored
I
to hear
would
that.
say potentially yes. Like
Yeah.
it's at the least been a completely different, yeah, as equally helpful modality. But I just kind of tell people it feels like energy therapy. But
Yeah.
but yeah, if you could describe it for anyone who's like never heard of it before.
Oh, for sure. Because it seems like, very mystical or something.
Mhm.
It's many things. But like at its core, it's kind of like energy healing, but like an energy transference.
Mm,
So like your energy and my energy are like kind of intermingling, and I'm like amplifying. If you can think of yourself as a battery, I'm like boosting
mm,
battery. It's almost like I'm a conduit, and anyone can do this,
mhm.
but like I've just taken it to a certain level. I'm a conduit just to amplify healing energy, which is just like chi, life
Yeah.
force. It's like all around us. But Reiki is, gosh, many things, but I like had to pull this out from my notebook from when I was learning. It's our ability to consciously connect with the rhythmic intelligence of the universe, among like 30 other things. It's kind of like a way of life. But at its core, it is energy healing. It is like hands on energy healing, different, points in the body that I kind of For me, in my practice, I include very positive visualization for that person. So I tie that in, and I also go through and clear chakras. I search for blockages in the chakras. That's a very big part of Reiki. And just for blockages in general, Reiki is a healing art, but it's also an intuitive art. I am an intuitive person.
Hmm.
I see things in my mind's eye and I hear things in my mind's ear. So that becomes part of my practice. Everyone's practice is different, but Reiki does have a physical component. It has an emotional component, a spiritual component. It's like an energy transference and boost and healing in all those areas of life.
That's such a great description because I guess, I don't want to speak for other people, but I think coming from the background I come from, which is like a fundamentalist, like Christian upbringing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is like the woo-wooiest of woo-woo shit. Do
Oh
you know
my
what I
gosh. Oh my gosh. That's why I have to like demystify things very quickly when I talk to people. I'm like, listen, you can still believe in Jesus.
mean? Yes.
Sorry. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I have to demystify it real quick because it's not like religious,
Yes.
living where we live. I feel like have to demystify that a lot. And it's like it's a spiritual thing for sure.
And that's a thing that I have found so interesting about this, just because I have shed a lot of that
Yeah.
upbringing and kind of reconstructed, or I mean, I think I'll probably always be in the process of like
Yeah.
moving through iterations of spirituality and faith. But
Yeah, always.
I think that when I first heard about Reiki our freshman year of college from some random person. I don't even
Yeah.
remember who they were. But
Yeah.
I was like, this sounds like bullshit. I don't
Yeah.
know. And then I had like one other experience a few years ago that I didn't really get like too much out of. It just felt like very peaceful. And it wasn't
Yeah.
until you had reached out to me last year and were like, hey, I feel like I'm supposed to give you a
Yeah.
Reiki session, that I was like, you know what, let me like go into this and just
Yeah.
be really open. And then it was like game changing. I think it is important for people to just be open regardless of
Yes.
faith, because I think that something I've thought about a lot is like, I think so many people of faith could benefit from
Yes.
something like this, you
At
know?
its core, it's energetic.
Mm,
It is
yeah.
energetic. It is about alignment and energy.
Mm,
So it's like at its core, it's that. So you're right. Like it should be demystified and like it's not tied in with like anything. It's not like
yeah.
tied into any like belief
Mhm.
system other than like of yourself,
Yeah.
as a like powerful force.
Yeah. In terms of connecting with energy, I guess from both sides, is there something that people should kind of look for in a practitioner of Reiki? And maybe it's because we already had an established connection, but like
Yeah,
the way that I felt connected to you is so different from how I felt connected to the person who gave me a session a few years
really.
ago. And I don't know if that's like a experience-based thing and that like
Yeah.
she was newer to doing this or what, but
Yeah.
yeah, the things that people should kind of like look for when seeking out a
Yeah.
practitioner.
I would definitely, something I do is like make sure people like they get a sense of my energy. So it's
Mhm.
not just like sight unseen, like walking into it and just talking. I always like send people a video or we FaceTime before a good amount. So I can do this thing where I demystify it and you can get a sense of like my vibe.
Mm,
And I feel people can feel that I'm like a safe space
yeah.
once they can hear my voice and feel it. For me, the imagery or like the speaking is like important, either to meet in person or have a consultation, or it's important to chat before, just because a lot of people have different goals, and
Yeah.
you really want someone that's into really like finding what your goals are, really setting a strong intention with you, and doesn't have like a surface level
Mm,
experience with Reiki.
yeah.
When I do Reiki, you know,
Yeah.
it's like all these levels, and it's very deep.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of like vulnerability there. So you want to really trust the person, and that's an instinct, you know.
Definitely.
You
Yeah,
know,
I mean,
that's what.
I for sure have felt that with you, just like this like piece about this process. It's interesting because in some ways it feels like you're looking into the past, you're looking into the present, you're looking into the future. There's
Yeah,
elements
yes,
of it that feel like it could be astrological in a sense, and I think
yeah,
like part of that has like scared me in the past, but I never feel
me
that way
too.
with you. I always feel very like at peace with the
Yeah,
process of that. And I think you're so right. Yeah, like it's being able to establish that like, okay, are we like vibing? Or do I
yeah,
feel like I can open myself enough to like try and meet you
yeah.
at the level that you're
Yes,
at, you know?
absolutely. And you want to make sure, and I try to do this myself, that everything is of like the highest order of like
Hmm.
good intentions, like love and light. So
Yeah.
it's really important to like lock into that, feel that vibe. It's a very like personal and serious thing because it's a privilege for me to get to like intermingle with you, like
Hmm.
on this field, completely different field.
Hmm.
It's like for me, it's like we go somewhere else.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I'm like,
Yeah. It's like it doesn't matter whether we're distance, right? From here
yeah,
to there, me to you,
yeah.
whether we're like together and I'm like with you in a room. It's like we are going somewhere else and meeting somewhere else.
And that's the craziest thing too for anyone listening. The Reiki sessions I've done with Anna have been remote, and I had such a hard time wrapping my mind around that when you had suggested doing that because
Yeah.
I was in Knoxville, I'm in Nashville, and
Yeah.
I was telling my friend about that the other day, and she was like, "That's like the most baller move." She was like, "I don't even need to be there because I move energy, and so I can move energy from anywhere." And I was like, "That's such a good point." Like, yeah,
Yeah.
like you
It's so
don't need
like
this
awesome to know.
space. Yeah.
I was like, when I first got trained into Reiki, like at the first certification, it was, we discussed distance Reiki, but it wasn't really like the emphasis.
Mm,
It was just like preliminary, like self Reiki. So I
yeah.
get into the second certification, my Reiki 2, and I did it at distance with this amazing person. Wild Violet Oracle is her like Instagram account, and she's based in Washington. It was like the middle of the pandemic, and I was like, I need to up my like Reiki game right now.
Mhm.
And I'm like, ah, it's like
Yeah.
I can't go anywhere or like do anything. So I was like, I really feel called to like up my Reiki game, and I really want to do it with Violet. I've been following her for years. So we did it. I like signed up, and there was her like texts are amazing, and all of her content. And every time you go up a level in Reiki, you get an attunement, which is like it's like a sacred kind of ceremony where
Beautiful.
your crown gets opened up. You get like charged, kind of like that battery analogy. It's like wattage of a light bulb.
Mm.
It like goes up.
Yeah.
Like level up energetically, and it's like a further commitment to it. And the first time I had one here in Knoxville was insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
I believe it.
um and then so I was like, all right, well, I'm very interested for my like second level attunement since it's coming from Washington. And so I had it, like we're here, zooming, and I was like, all right. And so I like closed my eyes and she did the attunement. And the next day I felt like a different human being.
Mm.
I was like, what in the world? Like, even, I mean, I'm like into it, but even I was like, whoa.
Whoa.
The next day it was like I didn't need coffee, I didn't need anything. I was like just firing like at like all engines. It was just the most beautiful, and it carried out, it unfolded. Like it was absolutely amazing. It definitely deepened my connection. It made me a better conduit.
Hmm.
It was very powerful, and I was like, holy dip, like from across the country,
Yeah.
in real time. And it was totally insane. So I have like more distance Reiki clients than, in person.
Can you walk us through like how you structure, or I don't even know if
Yeah.
structure is like an appropriate term to use.
Yeah.
Maybe you're just kind of following where things are leading, but how
Yeah.
you basically do a Reiki session.
Yeah. So you like in person or at distance?
Um, I guess let's do at distance just because that's
Yeah,
what we've done together, and I would
absolutely.
think that maybe that might be easier for some people right now who maybe aren't able to like do things in
Yeah.
person or don't have someone in their area that they
Yeah.
can do
And
this
it's like
with.
super easy, super
Yeah.
accessible, that's for sure. So what I do is I have like this printout of a body.
Hmm.
All right. So like when I focus, when I'm doing Reiki, like I'm like focusing on areas and I know where they are on you.
Mm.
And so what I do is I have that, I have the person's information, like their full name, their address, where they're located, their birth date, and then also intentions, because we've spoken before,
Hmm.
this the session, and you've shared with me your intention, what you want to accomplish, any deficits or anything like that, and then I lock into that. So there's a preliminary chat
Hmm.
always, and then about 2 hours before the session begins, distance or otherwise, I kind of like open myself up. I kind of just like turn it on, like the light bulb. Like I'm just like, okay. And this is just me.
Yeah.
I do it. I open myself up to like the energies, surrounding the person I'm going to work with.
Mm.
And I start getting like input. And I always do it 2 hours before. This is why I only do like one session or two a day. By the time I meet the person, it's already like, I'm like, yo, nice to see you, because like I've been getting vibes. Um, and that kind of preliminary information really informs, before I even meet you, or, the session begins, I'm already like informed
Mm.
about the session for the day, and that kind of leads into the intentions. But I just have this printout. I play certain music that works for me. I'm a music person, I'm a musician, so music's important. And I will just begin like a Reiki session. So what I do is I invite my spirit council, which means my spirit guides, my revered ancestors. For me, it's my angels, archangels, and source. And I call that in, and I call in the spirit council of whomever I'm working with, their guides, their revered ancestors, loved ones, and their source. And I say, let's together provide the highest level of healing meant to occur today for this person, all of us together.
Mm.
So I start then, like from the top of your head, like I go down by the chakras, top of your head, like crown, third eye, I go through here. I just like literally scan the body. And what I do while I do that is I'm like establishing a connection with you energetically. And I'm kind of like just getting some input, like also in that connection. And sometimes that input will be visual, it'll be symbolic. Or sometimes it'll be like, auditory, or, visual, like literal. So I establish that connection, and then in Reiki, there are certain like hand positions we put, and we use certain symbols, meant with different intent,
Hmm.
over areas where we've talked about already,
Hmm.
or that I find need attention.
Hmm.
And I kind of, while doing a second scan, a longer one, I just visualize like golden light,
Hmm.
amplified, filling up your body, and I mean, radiating to all directions for infinity.
Mm.
And that's a strong visualization, and I do it that for about a half an hour. And then while doing that, I get more input. Sometimes the input's like vague, and sometimes it's hyper specific.
Mm.
Um, and sometimes it's like symbolic, that I'm just supposed to tell you something, or like this is a something to learn. This
Hmm.
is a takeaway. So this is all over a piece of paper, but whilst I do this, the client is just lying down. So like I'm doing this regarding you, but at the same time, you are wherever you are, just lying down. I text you to say, we're beginning. And then when I'm done, I text you to say, I'm done, and I'll FaceTime you here in a minute, and we'll talk about what happened, what I got,
Mhm.
how you felt. Did you feel anything? Did you, do you want to share anything with me? And that talk is very important.
Mm.
And then afterwards, I'll type up like a, summary of what I received, what we talked about afterwards, because in the moment it can be kind of like overwhelming. Emotions kind of like, even for me, take over, and I get like these like happy emotions and excited emotions that make it easy to like forget things.
Mm.
So I like write things down immediately. But yeah, I mean, I do work with chakras. So part of the energetic practice is after I do the scan and the visualization, I do like the clearing of the chakras. I just test them for blockages, see where they are. Based on what I read, I, send Reiki to certain areas. I get input kind of based on where blockages are
Mm.
about, what you're going through. And it usually syncs up pretty dang well.
Yeah,
Um,
it does.
you know, every time, that says a lot about what you're going through, but we clear it up. That is the goal. And in
Mhm.
that clearing up, there is alignment,
Mm.
and that is the goal.
Yeah.
And that feeling is like, I just want as many people to feel that feeling as possible, because once you feel that feeling, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you
It's
know,
honestly like some of the deepest peace I've ever felt. And
yeah,
I think that hits on multiple levels in that like it's a short-term peace, but it's
yeah,
also this peace that is something that you can I don't again, just speaking from my own experience,
yeah,
and I brought up the whole kind of like way I was raised faith-based before, but
yeah.
I've been doing, as you know, a lot of work to like deprogram a lot of that and not look outside of myself for connection to divinity.
Yes.
And there have been so many things along those lines that you've confirmed for me without me having even
Oh,
discussed
yeah.
them with you first. And it just felt so affirming to
Oh,
feel,
yeah.
wow, I am on the right path. And like even though I've doubted myself on this journey because
Yeah.
of all of the programming that has been put into me from birth
Yes.
until like 17, 18 or so,
Yes.
I'm still unraveling a lot of that, but this whole process is just continuing to be affirmed. And I'm learning to like trust myself more and more with my
Yes. Like the
intuition.
light within.
And yeah, and it's really powerful, it's really empowering.
Yeah.
I think the thing that I don't know, you might laugh at this. The thing that sometimes I struggle with is the idea of ancestors, because I don't know about
Yeah.
you, some of mine are problematic.
Yeah.
And like they are the drama, you
Oh
know
my
what I
gosh. Oh my gosh.
mean?
Me too.
And it's so I'm
Me
like,
too.
are they like all of are like have they gotten to where they need to be and are now able to help
Yeah.
me? Is that what's happening? Or like
You
who
notice
are
how
they?
I'll say like respected or revered
Yeah. Yeah.
ancestors, because I got some issues too. I mean,
Because it's hard to I have six different grandparents. The
yeah,
and through marriage, through
yeah,
birth, whatever. But I I wasn't particularly close, or I didn't really identify with most of them. And
yeah,
from what I know about just like certain life choices that some of them made,
yeah.
I have a hard time like taking advice, you know
Oh,
what I
yeah,
mean? And
sure.
so it's hard for me to
Yeah.
imagine going further back and imagining like who are
Oh,
those ancestors that I never physically connected with
yeah,
in this
yeah,
lifetime, and I
yeah,
wonder what they were like and like what
yeah.
kind of people they were and wisdom they had, or kind of who they are now in whatever realm they're in, you know?
Exactly. I like constantly think about that, and
Mm.
what came through on my first like Reiki, my first Reiki certification, is that we all got our Reiki teachers, the masters, were also like psychics, basically psychic mediums,
Yeah.
just by coincidence.
Yeah.
So and they were extremely like powerful, like super gifted. And so each person, goes, they were going around to each person, right? There were like, I don't know, like 10 or 12 of us. And we're like getting an attunement, and they're like kind of like vibing, like everyone had, it comes after like they stopped, and then everybody kind of shared, or rather the teachers shared what they kind of experienced themselves when they came around and attuned everyone, and everyone kind of did the same. The teachers, were like telling people, I see this type of energy around you, kind of like this type of a person or that type of a person, just like obviously like loved ones, or just like random people that like kind of attach to us because they think we're awesome and they see something in us and they want us to like win. But they got to me, and you can imagine like the existential dread I had in the moment. I was like, they got nothing. They got nothing. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
existential dread of that moment, like leading up to that, I was like, Jesus, what's gonna
You're like,
happen?
she's on her own.
Oh, like, wow, honey. But holy moly, they were like, you are like surrounded by ancestors in a very protective and powerful way, in such a way that they won't let us touch you.
Wow.
They had to like attune me from distance, like from like 10 feet back. And they were like,
Wow.
she was like, they're like surrounding you like, and it goes on and it goes on and it goes on. They were like, we've never seen anything like that.
Wow. I just got chills. That's
Yeah, and I was like, after that moment, I was like, I felt like such a baller. I was like, I
like we
can't
got a
do anything
squad.
wrong.
Rolling deep. Yeah.
Yeah, like I was, overwhelmed by that, but like felt something like locked in, and it felt
Mhm.
very true.
Yeah.
Felt very true, and it ties in with a lot of things in my life and readings that I've had. But it was, amazing, and it really gave me an idea of that ancestor connection. And it wasn't like necessarily like, oh, this person from 3 generations back or
Mm.
even 6. It was like someone from literally 1,000 years ago,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
that kind of like craziness. I
Wow.
felt it like went that out, out,
A
out,
deep.
out, out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
um, that ancestral energy I call upon a lot.
Mm.
I call upon a lot. And I always say, revered or respected ancestors, because it's a real, I mentioned like the spirit council, your
Mm.
spirit council, your guides, which are just like spirits that like, see you down here and are like, wow, like her. I'm gonna
Mm.
help her. We're gonna help her, and they may be like related to you or not. But spirit guides and all that stuff, like it's really a power to be called upon. All those things, the ancestors, source, whatever that is
Mm-hmm.
for people,
Mm-hmm.
literally, literally whatever it is, even if
Yeah.
it's just a vibration. Those two things are really, really powerful, and it's
Mm.
just like an energy that's asking to be called in.
Yeah.
Like, let me play, coach, or like they're like on the bench, and they're like, what the heck? Why isn't she asking for
Mm-hmm.
help? We're right here. It's that kind of an energy.
Mm.
So the ancestral stuff is pretty powerful,
It's
but
interesting.
it's fun. It's like unknown. It's fun to
Yeah.
think about history, like going that far deep, you know. And then the immediate, then we also think about immediate people,
Yeah.
of course, and that's always a thing.
I mean, it's not lost on me that I have trouble connecting to the concept of like getting help from ancestors because I also have issues with asking for help here
Yeah,
and like being vulnerable here.
yeah,
And that this has been like a newer discovery for me to
yes,
like instead of trying to shoulder something on my own immediately as a problem arises to like
yes,
stop for a second and just
yeah,
try to just throw it out to the
yeah,
universe like, hey, if anyone's available,
yeah.
it would be
It's
great.
really standing in your power. It's
Yeah.
claiming your power. And I do this like every day. I call my power back to me
Mm.
for any time anyone has taken it from me, knowingly or unknowingly.
Hmm.
I call it back to me from all ways. I do
Mm.
that so often, and that and the calling in the guidance for like ancestors and spirit guides when your intention is real, because intention is the most important part of like anything
Mm.
anything for anything to succeed or to happen. The intention has to be like right there. When you really like open up to that and your intention is pure, like you're really asking for guidance and help like whenever you need it, when you really open yourself up to that, like you see it and you
Yeah.
experience it. It sounds like super woo-hoo. It's like a lot of my clients are like, people that you think would
Hmm.
do Reiki,
Hmm.
right? Like, which is horrible to say, but it's like, it's a vibe.
Yeah.
And then I've had a good amount of people that would just like out of nowhere, like coming out of left field. I'm like, whoa, I'm happy to see you. This makes me so happy.
Yeah.
When someone
Yeah.
says, I don't know what this is about, but something's weird with me. I'm feeling like out of like myself, or like I'm super depressed, or whatever is happening in their life that's so intense that they're like calling me out of left field. It makes me so happy. Like when that happens, I'm just like, yes,
Like they
claim it.
probably need it more than anyone.
Yes. And they're taking responsibility for their energy out
Yes.
of nowhere.
That's so huge.
It's like, whoa, okay, the thing to do at the beginning of the problem is this.
Mm.
Take responsibility. That's what Reiki is at its core, I feel. And that's why I made it a way of life, like as a practitioner,
Mm.
is taking responsibility for your energy. People that you wouldn't think would ever take Reiki, receive it. It makes like my heart sing, and they're just like, whoa. And I'm talking about like ancestors and stuff, and they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it ends up what should be like 60 minutes ends up being like 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it. There's probably like more to unpack that's just been building up in there
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah, yes, and I'm so happy to be I have like one flat rate and I'm happy to be there all day.
You are an angel. I always think I'm like girlfriend needs to charge more because she's putting that work in, like putting in the work. Because I know how I feel after a session. I mean, I feel amazing, but I also feel like wow, like I need the day, and I can't.
Yes, to
And I wasn't
process.
even the one like doing like channeling,
Yeah, because things have to fall into place that day and things have to
Yeah.
settle in, like energetically and like here in your
Yeah.
heart, like so, and then you get, messages on all these levels,
Yeah, I mean, I
all
guess
the stuff.
I know like the podcast is about like a first time for things, but I'll just
Yeah,
briefly, I mean, obviously you were there, but just to
yeah,
give listeners like kind of synopsis of what I've been getting out of it in
yeah.
general. I feel like, Anna reached out to me last year. I had shared about these miscarriages that I had had, and she was like, I just feel called to like give you a session if you feel open to it. And kind of same as you, like I was in such a tough spot and
Yeah.
on every level that I was like, fuck it. I'm open
Why
to
not?
anything at this point
Yeah,
because I am struggle busing.
yeah. Throw everything at it.
And it was just like from go, it's brought me so much a peace, clarity on not just the journey through like motherhood and
Yes.
fertility, but
Gosh, yes.
spiritually, like there are things that you have, again, like you have put language to that I had been kind of meditating on myself or
Oh,
um, kind of educating myself about, but hadn't
yeah.
voiced to even anyone, like maybe not even Matt,
Yeah.
and or even really like like able to wrap my head around myself. And just brought clarity to those things and affirmed some of those things.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
Even physically, I would say for most of last year, after my second miscarriage and during that pregnancy, I had developed this like really intense sharp pain underneath my left breast, like behind my rib,
Mhm.
and it would just come and go. But when it would come, it would feel like someone had their fingers just like up underneath my
Oh,
ribs, like in my lungs.
oh my gosh.
I even went to the emergency room one time because I thought maybe I'm having a heart attack.
Yeah.
It was getting to the point where like it would stop me from going places because I would be so afraid that it was going to happen and I would be stuck somewhere in public like with this like pain happening.
Oh my
And
gosh.
yeah, and I don't know if I ever relayed to you like just
Yeah.
the extent of
I didn't
like
know.
how big it was for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it kind of all like capitulated in this
Yeah.
some friends were playing a big show that were in from out of town. I was so excited to go see them. And then like right as we were leaving, it's just like it was like someone just like stuck a knife in there and just was like lost it and was like
Yeah.
I can't do this. I can't handle this anymore. And then
Mhm.
you worked on it and gone like that day gone, and it wasn't until this, and that was about like 3 months ago,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until the last week or so that it started kind of like mildly coming back again,
Yeah.
but we kind of talked through all of the reasons that
Yeah.
like that could be happening, and
Yeah.
it's been again so much better since that session. So it's just been really wild to me the benefits on every single level, like mentally,
Yeah.
emotionally, spiritually, physically, that I have gotten out of this practice. And I never saw it coming, you know,
Yeah.
like never
Really
expected it.
about it's like receiving exactly what you need on that day.
Mm, yeah.
You know what I mean? Filling in all the gaps, like just tuning up, just like whatever you're meant to receive, like that day. But it ends up being, it kind of puts you on a path if you choose
Mm,
of self discovery.
yeah.
And there's a huge aspect, the way I practice Reiki, of self knowledge and self discovery to it because, like, why not?
Hmm.
So when I do like Reiki, it's not just like, oh, okay, you're hurting here or you're depressed or this or that. There's like, it's like very like three-dimensional. There's like a lot that we talk about.
Yeah.
It's just like, on an energetic level and emotional and self-worth. And it's just so, in my practice, very like multidimensional.
I mean, that's how it's felt, and I recommend it to so many people now. And like you said, it unfolds, and it's been really wild to even just, we had our most recent session when with Friday, I
Yeah.
think. Today is Tuesday, and I was telling you like immediately afterwards, and my mom has been going through some health stuff, and I felt like some of the like words you had for me were
Yeah.
also meant for her, and when I
Wow.
gave her some of that, it like landed so hard for her in a good way,
Wow.
And
Yes.
then even yesterday a morning I was hanging out with a friend, and I was just telling her about my experience, and she started crying just like hearing about it, and she was like, I think I need something like this. And even
Yeah.
just being able to, if it just sparks that moment of like,
Yes.
oh, maybe this is the thing I've been looking for.
Yeah.
Maybe this is what can like
Yes.
help me empower myself to
It's self-development.
yes, yeah. It's been really beautiful to kind of see it unfold like that.
Yes. Like Reiki is like a treatment.
Mm,
It's a process, but when you let it be a way of life, it turns into a path of self-development
yeah.
in a very organic, intuitive
Mm.
way, not like a very literal, like, like I'm doing all the things in this like natural way where like it's energetic, and
Yeah,
like
it
you
really
let your body speak to you.
it does, it has felt very natural and very organic, and I'm super into like self-development stuff.
Mhm.
Like I read tons of books about it. I love podcasts. I'm
Yeah.
like,
I know all
teach
my
me about
podcasters are,
myself,
yeah, me too. I'm a big podcast person. All my podcasts are of this nature. I love it so much.
Yeah, totally. And that's always my thing I come back to with this project is that I want people to feel like they're learning about themselves in this process,
Yes.
listening, and that they come away with it with even just one moment where they're like, "Oh, maybe I'll like try this, or maybe I'll
Yeah.
think about this differently," or just
Yeah.
expand.
Recognize themselves in a
Yeah.
place where they wouldn't have thought they would have recognized themselves.
Yes, completely. Do you have any particularly like memorable Reiki experiences that
Oh
you can
dear.
like share?
Yeah, one on me. I'll totally share. So the last time I had a Reiki session, I'm due for another trust. Um, but the last time I had one, I had this really specific goal,
Mhm.
right? So like the more I practice Reiki on myself and out in the world, it's like the loftier my goals get when I am in
Mhm.
a session.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I went into the session and I said, I'm really, curious about this is just me, my past lives.
Mm.
I feel weight of past lives and I just really want to know what's up with that.
Mm.
And I want to know, I feel like I suffer from some things that I like didn't I like carried them in here or something.
Mm.
It just feels like weird. It's just like
Yeah.
I just had some issues. I was just like, I want to understand time more. I want to understand like my past lives and how they inform my life now, like even ancestrally. How does that impact me now? Like how much of my problems are like due to my past,
Mm.
you know, unconsciously. I just want to like know, but I want to find out. I don't want anyone to tell me. I
Mm.
told my practitioner. I just want to start that process, which was like a tall order.
Right?
Now that I say that out loud to you, I'm like, ew, I'm so needy.
I just want to understand time and space and reincarnation and no,
Okay,
no,
that makes sense to me on my terms.
make it make sense.
So I just told her, I was like, you don't have to tell me. I don't want to be told. I want it to unfold. And I don't care if it takes like 17 years to unfold. I just want the unfolding to start. I want to activate that. So she worked on my spine, because, our karmic history is like stored in our spine
Oh,
energetically.
interesting.
It's really crazy. So she worked for like probably like 70 minutes, 80 minutes on my spine.
Wow.
And so it was like a really focused, because my goal was so focused. And she's amazing like that. She just, knows what to do. So I felt it was like literally 3 minutes long. I felt like I was like in and out of there. But I was instantly transported for the entirety of the session to a place. It was like a canyon, and I was a condor. Like a huge, like vulture type bird. Like it's the biggest bird in the world. Crazy, like wingspan. And I was just like alone. Like imagine like a Grand Canyon, but like no one's there.
Yeah.
Not like it's bumping anyway, but like
Yeah.
um and I'm just like flying around from like peak to peak,
Mhm.
random like stone to stone. And the impression I'm getting, like in my brain, like as an animal,
Mhm.
is that I'm I'm like living multiple lives at the same time. Yeah. And it was like, you are living your life right now. This was an impression, right? It's
Mhm.
just like, it was like it was like not said.
Mm.
It was like almost like someone just imprinted
Mm.
this knowledge, or like, this fact. And it was just like, you're alive right now, you're, as Anna, and your essence at the same time is this condor
Mm.
flying around this canyon.
Mm.
It's like all the while, like you have like all these like lives and stuff, and time passes. This condor stays here and is you on this like certain
Mhm.
dimension, on this field or on this plane,
Mhm.
is you at the same time. And I was like, first of all, I'm like, my language is leaving me right now.
Yeah.
Because then I woke, she ended the session. I was like, wow, that felt like a really quick tune up. I didn't say that out loud, but I felt like that in my head.
Yeah.
And then I looked, and it was like an hour and a half had passed. And I came away with this like very, very specific experience information. and visuals. So that was pretty nuts. And like,
Wow.
how it unfolds. I asked, I said, even if it takes 20 years, I want this,
Yeah.
to unfold. So like a month later, I'm at this like bookshop in Asheville, North Carolina, and I just like I brought this book out knowing I would tell this story. I just like saw this book. It was like red. This is like literally my favorite color, like blend of colors.
Hmm.
Like this like red, orange, red. So I just like picked it up, and I was like, oh, I like this like color, and it's like says like the word shaman on it. So let's take this off the shelf.
Oh.
So like I open up to like any random page, and literally I just like put on any sentence, and the first sentence is, the condor is a totem of transcendence, not only to overcome difficulties and visualize an auspicious destiny for this lifetime, but to connect us with the timeless essence we share with all life.
Stop it right.
Like,
What?
like the first word was condor, so I was like, okay, I'm in.
Oh my
And then I
God.
finished the sentence, and
And
then
then but that was your vision is the time. Anyone who's not watching this, who's only listening, my jaw is like on the floor,
yeah.
basically. This is that's
Yeah.
crazy.
And then I'm like I know that I've hit something
Mm,
right because I'm like in the bookstore and like I can't even feel my legs.
mm, yeah.
My legs are like wobbly
Hmm.
because I feel like bam, like, I said this would unfold. It was like one thing like extending,
Yep.
like one petal like just extended.
Like,
And I was just like, yeah. And I'm just like caught in this moment. And I was like, holy, like,
yeah.
yes, it was just crazy, and things have happened since
Mm,
involving condors, and it's the whole condor thing is weird because it's like when I was in third grade, I did a big project on condors, and I told my dad about this experience, and
yeah.
I'm going to Asheville, and he was like, we did a project on condors when you were like in second or third grade, and I was like, that's so weird. And he was like, yeah, you were like super into condors for a while.
That's a thing that's so wild that I started recognizing when I was in therapy was like I truly think that like we have it together when we're children. Like I don't
Yeah.
know if it's because we are closer to the spirit world like from where we came from.
Yes.
And then we lose it's what feels like everything. And I think
Yeah.
our process, I think life to me at this stage at 37 years old, well, I've learned so far. Who
Yeah.
knows what else I'll learn, but
Yeah.
to me, it feels like the process of life is to get back to where we started, but with more knowledge and
Exactly.
more experience. But
Yes.
I think that we came here like
Oh,
perfect. And
absolutely.
then just the experience of being human kind of like breaks you down to have to like rebuild. And the
Oh my
and the work
gosh.
is like is rebuilding.
I do like newborn Reiki,
Hmm.
and like I'm literally there for like 10 minutes. I like charge like almost nothing for it because
Yeah.
they're so lit up. Like souls that are fresh to the earth are just like so lit up that energetically there's so little to do. They're perfect.
Yeah.
It's like the light is on bright, like bright.
I love
Yeah,
that
and
so
the only
much.
reason I do a lot of work on newborns, it'll be like, if there was like a traumatic kind of birth or, like stuff like
Yeah.
that, and the mothers, like tapped into that
Yeah.
kind of thing. But energetically, they're just like so aligned.
Did you do it on your son?
Oh yes, I continue to, but I was like always very like light with it when he was very, very young because like they're just like,
Yeah.
it's almost like give me some of your,
Yeah. Oh,
you know
no,
what I
just
mean?
a little bit.
So, but yeah, like my daughter asks for it like very often, and she knows like the language of like this world. Do you know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like this
Yeah.
like spiritual, like this like in between place where Reiki is,
Yeah.
where it's not like a spa, but
Mm.
it's not like church.
Yeah.
It's like this in between place,
Yeah.
and I've always like been there in that in
Mm.
between place, and she knows that place too, and the language that goes around it, and like like crystals and
Mhm.
burning incense and vibes, and she loves that. But yeah, I've like Reiki'd her, and with my son, he's autistic, so Reiki has like become a way for me to not only help him, but really like connect.
Yeah.
And like everyone responds to Reiki. He like really responds to Reiki.
Yeah.
Like he will be still. Or
Mm.
I mean like ask a 2-year-old to be still.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
It's kind
Yeah.
of crazy. So it's really beautiful, and like talking about like the space in between, I feel like that ties into now my life with like autism a little bit,
Mhm.
because like autism kind of, the best way I can put it, almost puts you in this like in between space, right? Like the neurotypicals may
Mhm.
not understand. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I'm like so glad he's my son. The other day I was thinking, I'm like, why have I just like, I got one Reiki session. I'm like, why am I now? I'm like, wow, that happened fast. Because now I'm like, doing a lot of Reiki. Like that is my life now.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, wow, that just like, it just puts you like, it's self development. And if you're
I,
a person that's into that, then like, oof, Reiki's gonna like, light you up.
Man, I'm just so I've said this to you before too. I'm just so grateful that you were in tune enough to recognize this is something that you needed to pursue and
Oh yeah.
follow because
Thank you.
it has been such a I hate to use the word blessing because it
Yeah.
feels like you're special and like
Yeah.
someone's giving you something that other people don't
Yeah.
deserve.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just been such a gift to my life to
Yeah.
have like be able to experience this with you and like reconnect with you and
Oh,
like
thank you. Me too. It's brought me
it's
so
so
much joy.
beautiful. Same. It really and yeah, I just if you had never pursued this, like I don't know what I would be experiencing in this particularly in this stage of life. But then also being able to like share it with my friends and have them like,
Yes.
I don't know how many of them have actually like reached out to you, but
Yeah, like
but
you're so awesome about that. Many like it makes me really happy when people just like even hear it, even if
Mm,
they don't go do it, just to
mm,
know that like a it's possible, but like wow, my friend's thinking in this like 3D, 4D way.
yeah.
What if I did that? Really like just set my life on this path. Like all of a sudden, I just like got really like hyper aligned and like qualified and certified and like deeply. I'm like 38. I'm like, okay. I'm like almost 38. I'm like, wow, that happened like fast and at a random time in my life. And I was just like thinking back on that a couple of days ago, and I was just like, why did that happen? Like randomly, I'm glad that it did, but I'm like, it is such a huge force in my life now, and it like, it's like provides for
Mhm.
my family and my life. And also I'm realizing it like kind of prepared me to have like an autistic child,
Mhm.
and I feel like that's where everything's like,
Yeah.
I think Reiki has allowed me to realize like what we think the picture is, and then we think it's like this, and it's actually like,
Yeah. Oh,
no,
yeah. Just
no, our eternity, like, you know what I mean? So
yes.
like and this is another analogy for unfolds, you know,
Mhm.
like every bit, when I don't expect it, I'm working on myself, but when I least expect it, it's like zoom out more,
Mm.
zooming out more.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, that's why I did this.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to just kind of see, I think the older I get, I think I'm getting better at being able to recognize when I'm forcing something rather than when I'm in flow with something.
Yeah.
And I'm getting, slowly and slowly better at releasing the need to control or force and leaning
Yes.
into more of the okay, like let this happen. And the
Yeah.
things that kind of are have been falling into place or just unfolding
Mhm.
because of my willingness to follow like the
Yeah.
path that's revealing itself to me rather than to force something to happen.
Yeah. Like the
Really,
natural current.
Yeah, it's so much easier
Yeah. Yeah.
than trying to knock doors down or push
Yeah,
things
it's so much
and
easier on your brain because then you're not utilizing, like you're like we have all this like mind chatter,
Mhm.
like that we're constantly talking to ourselves like in our brain
Yeah.
and like doing so much like ping 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 ping, like
Mhm.
all this stuff
Yeah.
going off, like all our like narratives about like this and that, all these things going off, and to quiet that,
Mm.
and to focus that, if you let go of some of that, you really make way for some like major shifts in your life. That like mind chatter and the like the need for certainty,
Mm.
that's what every human like wants. So a lot of the mind chatter like is based on like certainty and like where
Mhm.
we stand and
Yeah.
power and this and that. So if we can let that go, it puts you in more of a life of ease,
Mm.
not dis-ease.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, life is tough enough, and like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think to try and force is just there's too much happening, and I think you gave
Yes.
me a great visual the other day in our session, which is like we are the tree, and
Yeah.
everything else is just weather.
Yes.
Like we are the constant, everything
Yeah.
else is just like situational,
Yeah.
and to know that like we have that kind of power. I think that is control,
Yeah.
but in a way that isn't man-made,
Yeah. It's very
you know?
organic. It could not be like any other way.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I said, as I get spiritual, but like, we were there before, we'll
Hmm.
always be,
Hmm.
so it's like we're just like this continual thread, but like much more powerful than that. Like this, and deal, I make it into a tree, but we're just like this beam
Mm.
constantly, like only changing, never dissipating, only changing.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, people always say like there's no bad weather, there's just weather.
Hmm.
If you're really positive, you
Yeah.
see that. So that's what I like to think. There's no bad weather. There's just like fluctuations
Yeah.
in the weather, and you're just, everything is transient.
That's a word, girl. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so happy
I'm
that
grateful
you
for you. Oh my gosh, dude.
I'm just so happy that like we've been able to reconnect as friends, but also
Yeah,
like you've been again like this practice has been so special to me
I'm
and
so
so
glad.
priceless. And I am just like so excited for more people to find out about you, find out about Reiki, and if people
Yes.
are interested in like in either learning more in general, like are there any like books or podcasts you recommend, but also like how can they get in touch with you to set up a session or
Yes.
follow
So
you?
Instagram would be a great way to get in touch with me. So
Mhm.
my Instagram is the underscore vibes underscore architect, the vibes architect. That's the best way, and I get a lot of bookings that way. But there's one really great Reiki book called Hands of Light,
Mhm.
and that was like my gateway into, and that's probably like a very common gateway. But like I would just like the whole Reiki, where you would find a Reiki book.
Mhm.
I would like explore that whole section.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you would
Yeah.
find a Reiki book, because like you would find, this is what I'm like rereading this book right now, The Four Agreements.
Just finished it. So good.
Yeah.
So
So,
good.
like anything that brings you closer to yourself.
Mm.
Reiki is so many things. It's like obviously this like healing modality, but like it's like a way of living. It's a way of living like into abundance
Mm.
and gratitude,
Mm.
accountability for your own energy and your own like path, and it's just it's a really really beautiful thing. So I love the opportunity to like demystify that for anyone. I try to do that on Instagram, um, but yeah, Hands of Light is a great book. It's like a great first book to get.
Awesome. Going to the bookstore now.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and I mean, all the books you just read, like the Four Agreements, like all those things bring you in closer awareness of yourself. Also, my biggest book suggestion of my entire life is The Prophet by Khalil Gibran.
Yep.
Like, of my life. I like gift it to
I need
anyone
to
who wants to
reread
look at
that.
me.
It's probably been about like 12 years since I've read
Yeah.
that. I should
It'll
probably
hit
reread
different now. It'll
it.
hit
Oh
different.
yeah, it'll hit different. It'll probably slap much harder.
I used to like carry multiple copies in my bag and like gift it to people that would like look at me. I'd be like, hey, we talk more than 2 seconds. You need to read this book. You'll probably like this book. I'm going to give it to you right now.
I love
Like,
you so much.
it's an important book. It really, when you say, how important it is when you recognize, like when people put to language your internal experience and you've like never experienced that before. Like when that happens in life, I feel that way about Khalil Gibran.
Mm.
Like putting to words like some weird, energetic, like feeling, like you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that energetically is like a book for me. Really
Yeah.
intense and really beautiful, and it's like a book for all seasons.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who ends up watching this on YouTube, I'll put links to all of that stuff into your socials too, so
Yes,
everybody
thank you
can
so
just
much.
like click and connect. But thank you so much for doing
Thank
this. I
you.
appreciate you so much, and I think so many other people are gonna appreciate you as well.
So glad to be on this platform, and I'm like so glad to like collaborate with you in any way. You're just amazing.
Feelings mutual, sister. Wow, you guys, I really cannot speak enough of how appreciative I am that Ana listened to that deep knowing she had to pursue Reiki. Because she did that, she's helped me and so many other people find a deeper understanding of ourselves. And again, like that is what this podcast is about, is helping us just come to know ourselves a bit deeper by stepping out of our comfort zones and trying something new. And, because she wanted to try Reiki, here she is now a Reiki master helping countless other people. So I just think that's so amazing. If you would like to keep up with Ana or book a remote or in-person session with her, you can connect with her over on Instagram at The Vibes Architect, and that is at @the_vibes_architect. If you would like to hang out with me on Instagram, you can find me at Danny Official, and that's at DAANI Official. Our theme song is performed by Ya Girl and also written by me and my super fun Canadian friends, The Royal Foundry. And First Time for Everything is produced by Two Sheila's Productions. Thank you guys so much for listening again. And remember, it is never too late for your first time.